Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next The Promised Neverland manga review. This one's going to be for chapter 159, which is called Thank You. And I thought this was a really good chapter this time out. Starting off with, directly 100% confirming the queen is gone. She won't be coming back. I really like that there's no real tease of a return. That was, I think, necessary to do after you'd already done the surprise return of the queen. So dealing with her, and I think, ending the queen on a pretty solid note. And then immediately bringing up the point of, in many ways, we've solved nearly all of the problems we had here. The nobility is gone. The bad leadership of the demons is out of the way. Now we need to work on, where did the demons go from here in terms of a leadership structure and changing things? Now the human characters can focus on making the promise happen and separating the kind of humans, the cattle children, basically, taking them out of the demon world so they're not in such a terrible position. And this is where they do the interesting thing here of kind of what we've been waiting for, I think, with Sanju. Not just his importance to the story, but now what we already knew about him. Where Emma and the crew left him the last time, he had that aside to himself where he said that he wants to eventually have a situation where humans can be back to where they were and he can hunt them again, because he doesn't like how sort of easy the current demon society makes it to just eat humans whenever. He wants to actually hunt it, and obviously in I think it was the last chapter we learned that it's sort of part of the way he was sort of raised and trained is to very much respect the idea of hunting and so on. So I think some very cool stuff here as they tease that a lot throughout this chapter of what will Sanju do now that things look like he won't get what he wants? Is he going to make a move? And they tease, will he hurt or kill Emma so that the promise can't happen to keep his dream alive? Will they suddenly switch over to Sanju being the big threat? But thankfully they don't do that, but I did like the tease because it made sense based on what we did and did not know. It led to a pretty funny moment towards the end, and then the tease of the actual remaining threat. The character you almost forget about because they reference him they haven't referenced him in a while, but Peter Rattray back in play, the Rattray clan. So let's go into the chapter page by page here. So it starts off with our final flashback of the queen as she, I suppose, 100% dies here. I want it all. As we just see the queen, killing everything she wants to, eating as much as she wants, taking power whenever she has to, and, growing more, experimenting on more and more humans just to make everything so she can just consume it. Status, prestige, wealth, delicious food, power, admiration, more. And very interestingly, on the bottom two panels on the first page here, they show this interesting thing of her with her cup or goblet, whatever way you want to call it, and obviously liquid being poured into it, and then the side of the goblet or cup shatters and everything pours out. Very symbolic, because that is probably a very good, simple way to view what has actually just happened to the queen. Just constantly filling herself up, consuming everything, trying to take it all into herself. And what's the thing that breaks? It's herself. In this case, the cup. And that's what happened here. That helps to explain what's happened here. The queen herself has broken with how much she's taken in. And now all of that has spilled out and ended up sort of consuming her. So I really like that sort of visual sort of symbolism there. We also get a great panel of her sitting on her throne in the middle of all this, wealth and power and food, and just, she's alone in the middle of it. She has all this stuff, but that's all there is to her. And I think that's the power of what Mujika said to her. Mujika managed to say the one thing that in any way pierced through the armor that the queen had up. What do you truly want? Why are you starving? I feel sorry for you because you have nothing else, basically. And the queen thinks, isn't this everything that I've wanted? Is there something else that I truly desire? What is it? Will obtaining it be able to quench this thirst? And she's looking at that cup, that kind of symbolism, and it's not happening. Something's not right. Even if this can't satisfy me, it should still And she's constantly thinking about this. What's going on? This emptiness that I'm feeling. I don't understand. I want them, I'm starving. Hand them over, I want to eat them. My 3 premium qualities. So you see her sort of beginning to fade away. These are the last thoughts of the queen here, of like, she's questioning her entire existence of just taking everything and consuming everything. And even though she knows now what the problem is, she still just thinks like, how can I actually satisfy my hunger? And she thinks to the one thing that she didn't get as like, oh, if I had those 3, then I'd be okay. But we know as the readers, she wouldn't have been. There would have been something else. It still wouldn't have satisfied her. She'd still be hungry and starving, even if she ate Norman, Emma, and Ray. So that's the end of the queen here, as we cut back to see her, I suppose, melting form, as she was basically, you know, her food has come outside of her, and it's just, you know, it's consumed her, basically. And Mujika confirms it here, she's dead. And this time, she'll stay that way. We get the reaction of Sanju and Mujika to just watching the last moment of the queen here, as we see Norman tend to Zazie, who does sort of stir a bit. He's kind of regained consciousness. He's injured, but he's alive, so that's good to know. Mujika notes, I won't be chased anymore. No one else has to die. Father, mother, everyone. So she's happy that, you know, this has been good. This is what she wants. She wants to change the demon world, and this will allow that to happen. And this is where we get Sanju stepping into the spotlight here. The queen is dead. The 5 regent houses are as well. The demon world has most definitely changed. They've done it. Humans are quite unbelievable. And what's more, they even made a promise with the One. And here's the big thing that makes you really be suspicious this entire chapter. Sanju, with a bit of a stern look on his face, is that really okay? Is it really okay that the humans are the ones changing all of this, that something's going to happen? And here's where, you know, they reference the past, and that interesting scene of Sanju revealing that he wants to eat humans when they're in a better situation. If things keep going as they are now, and Emma is able to fulfill the promise that she forged, I won't be able to eat, much less see humans for the rest of my life. They cut back to that panel. I can't wait for the day when I can eat as many humans as I want. That's what he said all those chapters ago. And you can tell he's at war within himself about what should he do here. If he wants to make that dream for him a reality, he's going to have to act now. And that's going to have to be taking Emma out. And that's the tease for this chapter is, will Sanju make some sort of a move to step into the spotlight here? Will he become the villain, the next threat here? Or what? We get, again, Mujika's claim here, I was born to change the demon species. And then Ray and the others discuss, you know, with all the nobility dead, the demons have no leader. Like, it's not just negotiating peace. Like, we have to find some way to deal with the chaos that's at play here. This could be another demon civil war with no stability. It's going to be pretty bad. Emma brings up that, you know, oh, it should probably be you, Sanju. And they're like, what? The next king, you're royalty, the queen's little brother, right? And Sanji just points out that won't work. You know, if Urk or Bayon were still alive, it'd be a different story, but I have no connections and know nothing of politics. Because he also mentions here he's considered a traitor, of course. He was chased around for 700 years as such. Be it the royal army or the citizens, no one will listen to me. It would only incite more chaos. So, you know, Sanju can't just step up and assume power because I suppose we as the readers consider him to be have the potential for that. He is realistic about the situation and acknowledges that, look, it maybe someday, but like by no means right now. Like, it would be too much of a change. As much as people probably want change in the demon world, this is too much to have the guy who's been considered a traitor for that long step into power all of a sudden. It's probably a bit much. But Mujika just says, it's okay, we'll figure our problems out. You all should hurry back to the hideout. And she just says, once humans are out of the picture, things will be much easier for us to solve. And again, you constantly have these panels of Sanju just thinking. He's got this kind of, you know, serious look on his face, like he's about to do something anytime soon. And Emma and Mujika are constantly talking about stuff. You're like, they're mentioning that, like, you humans don't need to be around anymore. And then Sanju's over there thinking like, do I want to eat humans? Do I not want to eat humans? What do I actually want? But we get the line here. Up until this point has been a civil war between demons. Now you can go and do what's really important, stopping anyone else from dying and stopping the flames of hatred from growing any larger. So Mujika, again, all about the peace here, which is completely in character. Nice line of dialogue here. And she says, and besides, I have a really bad feeling. The royal army, in the unlikely event that they attack the hideout, it'll be terrible. So please go and hurry. We're fine here. I have an idea of my own. So big hug here. Emotional moment between Emma and Mujika as they're saying their goodbyes for now. You know, they're definitely implying that this is just, you know, sort out this immediate moment, but that they'll probably get to meet again. Like, they're not really saying that this is like the final goodbye. But thank you, Mujika. Thank you so much. Another panel of Sanju just standing there in silence, thinking, at this rate, it really will. He's getting ready to do something. And just as you think, as you turn the page, and the top of the page looks like it's Sanju in action, but in fact it's just him reacting to getting hugged by Emma, and it's this really surprised panel. You thought he was going to attack at that point, but actually he's shocked that Emma has hugged him like that. And suddenly the serious expression changes to like, kind of embarrassment, as Emma has really, you know, taken the seriousness out of the situation by hugging him. She thanks him and says that so much has happened in these past 2 years. And here's where she talks about her sort of perspective on things. Like, of course, she's the one who's done all the like hunting training and has probably like the best perspective on like the human and demon side in terms of like understanding both sides. I've seen all kinds of demons and they're only a fraction of what's out there. I've thought about many things up until this point. Demons, ourselves, what it means to eat, what it means to live, and what it means to be robbed of that life. I've even thought about what death is. And interestingly, on the panel where that is, you see Norman kind of look over at Emma like shocked that like Emma's considering death. And I think they're definitely teasing that the promise, the reward for the promise, as we go back to, as most people are speculating, it probably does involve something happening to Emma. And if it is, you know, the prospect of her death, and that's what she's thinking about, that's an interesting one. Again, I don't know if that's the case, but I think they're absolutely teasing that there will be some negative impact on Emma with the promise. But anyway, I absolutely do not want my family to be killed. I won't let them be eaten, and I absolutely don't want to be killed and eaten myself. But I've imagined it. If I died, if I really did die, I thought to myself I'd be fine with Sanju or Mujika eating me. And they're kind of just standing there like, whoa, like that's a pretty serious statement, and that, like, you know, Mujika doesn't eat humans at all, and Sanju for now hasn't eaten them in a while. Me thinking that I don't want to kill the demons was because I was able to meet you two, and me being able to make it this far was because of how much you helped me since we first met. Thank you. I think that's a really, really interesting kind of sequence from Emma saying that, of just like considering her own death, and that if she had to die, I suppose for her spirit, she understands her value, that like, you know, only because of this experience meeting the demons does she understand this idea that, you know, humans are food to a different species. And because she sort of understands and has that sort of hunting perspective now because of what she learned, I think it's, you know, her valuing that, of just like valuing the sort of ideals of kind of hunting and what it means to be, you know, I suppose eaten by someone in kind of the right way. It's a bit of a weird one, but I think you can see where this line comes from. You know, wait, what? Emma's talking about like wanting someone to eat her, but I think that's what they're getting across, is just that sort of symbolic kind of nature of like, for demons who most of them have eaten humans, the way it sort of maybe used to be. But like it's interesting to see where they go with it. But still, you know, Emma thinking about her death, like, does it relate to the promise or not? So the three of them say goodbye, thank you so much, and they walk off. And Mujika just says, "You okay? Will you be able to give up eating human meat, Sanju?" And this is where the tension completely goes away from the chapter. You go from being like, ooh, that was pretty intense with Sanju, what was he about to do? And then all of a sudden he just sort of like screams and is like, this isn't good, I'm such an idiot. And Rajika's just like, that's what I like about you. Now then. And it's just this idea that because of the hug, like, he just got himself into such a kind of situation over thinking that, oh, my plan, what I want to do is going to be ruined if the promise happens. But then, like, he'd almost forgotten that, like, what, we're friends with them. Why am I thinking about, like, hurting Emma or something like that to get what I want? Like, they're friends with us. Like, they've changed things for the better. I'm just like, I'm being an idiot by even considering doing something. So that was a kind of fun, unexpected way that they went about things. Awkward Sanju here. So Mujika reveals here, I said I had an idea of my own, but really I have no clue what to do next. I thought that would be the case, says Sanju. A little unreasonable, but I don't have any qualms with that. So it's sink or swim then. So we see Emma, Ray, and Norman heading for the hideout. And they note here 4,000 royal troops. Even if we cut that in half, that still makes 2,000. Just 2 days ago in the morning, the Queen said someone told her. So that's the warning basically that went out. Let's hurry, the situation could be bad. The Queen's words confirmed it. The one commanding the royal army is most likely. The final boss is Peter Rattray, the current head of the Rattray clan. And that's the kind of cliffhanger ending here, is that we are moving on to finally dealing with the Rattray clan. And now that, like, the heads of the demon families are gone, like, what is the motivation of the Rattray clan? And that Emma revealing what the new promise is, in a way, should be something that Peter Rattray is, like, okay with. And it comes down to ultimately of, like, how focused are, like, Emma, Ray, and Norman on wanting to sort of punish Peter Rattray and, like, the Rattray clan members who support what's been going on here. How much do they want to punish them versus will they acknowledge that in most cases, like, the current heads of the family, Rattray clan, has just sort of inherited this situation. So that's going to be an interesting one. This is suddenly where we're getting very complicated. It also marks, I think, a shift from, we're moving from some very heavy demon focus over the last arc to probably being very, very human focused. Of course, it's Peter Rattray, like, commanding the rest of the demon royal army, but still human focused. And then I assume we'll eventually get around to the splitting up of the two worlds, the promise, the new promise happening, revealing stuff about the one, what the promise is, and, you know, making the series sort of final statements on humans, demons, and where we're going within the series. So it says here we'll be on break next issue, resuming in issue 2. So yeah, no chapter next week, but we'll be back the week after that. I think this is a good point to end, because it really feels like this is an arc transition now. We dealt with the kind of Norman attack against the nobility. It's now come to an end. Now we're moving on to focusing on Peter Rattray. This is likely the arc where we're going to bring in a lot of the sort of manipulation stuff into play. This is absolutely, I think, where Phil is going to come into play, Isabella, and so on. Again, the human characters taking the spotlight once more. So yeah, they're my thoughts on The Promised Neverland, chapter 159. Really enjoyed this chapter. The tension and then the humor as they reveal there was nothing to worry about. The tease of just like, well, the two main demon characters don't really know what to do next, but they'll figure something out. So the demon world's in chaos, but something will happen. That's interesting. And then the humans once again go from one piece of chaos to another. It's, I think, just really well done. But they're my thoughts on the chapter. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts are. But that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.